Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and this guy, Ed Wallace, over here. We are two retired New York City police detectives with 20 plus years of law enforcement. If you like all things true crime related from that police perspective, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you will get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we're going to talk about a horrific case. Again, I'm going to put the disclaimer out there. If you suffer from any sort of PTSD or, you can't kind of handle sensitive subject matters, I suggest that you maybe take a back seat to this one. Ed, how you doing this evening?
Good, Ron. Good. I'm a little tired from the week's work, and happy to be coming home tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's a tough go, and I'm sure that Mrs. Wallace misses you. She probably has a honeydew checklist for you when you get home. So
always,
yeah, there you go. There's always something to do when you're a homeowner. You know, when you own a home, there's always stuff to do, and this is the time of year we get everything together. I'm looking forward to the outdoor Olympic swimming pool at the Wallace residence being opened up, and I got my season pass. I have it. It's
That's
back
right.
here.
I heard you were going to be the lifeguard this year.
I do wear a mean Speedo, Ed.
I don't want to think about that.
All right, fair enough.
Wear your hat and your zinc oxide on your nose, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we wanted to try to lighten up the mood because we are going to speak about 10-year-old Lily Peters, murdered at the hands of a family member, alleged. A 10-year-old girl, Sunday night, just taking a walk home, and a very short walk or ride with the bike home from a relative's home to hers. Just looked like it was just a couple of short blocks. Something went horribly wrong, and we're going to break down the forensic side of this investigation. It is horrific. It's terrible on so many different levels. There's so many disgusting layers to this thing. And I got to say, even as seasoned professionals, Ed, you and I talked quickly about this. You've seen hundreds, actually literally thousands of crime scenes over your time. This one kind of takes the cake. What's your feeling and thoughts about this one, Ed?
Well, in my career, it's always been the children that hurt the most.
Yeah.
When I go there and I see this innocent child or dead for no
apparent reason.
Well, it's not that there's no reason. It should just never have happened in the first place. There's never a reason for someone of this age to be killed. And especially at the hands of a relative.
Yeah, I mean, it magnifies it even more when it comes from family. But you and I know a lot of these cases, whether the age is in factor here, when it's a 10-year-old or younger, or even, just a young adult, it magnifies it when it's somebody from the family. So again, Ed, you and I, we've seen so many different crime scenes over our time, and many other police officers and police women who are retired and active deal with this on a regular basis. So it's not a comfortable thing by any means. We know that this 14-year-old were under court order to not mention his name. As you know, Ed, we abide by that. This 14-year-old who is alleged to not only commit this murder, but also a sexual assault. And in the fashion that this was committed, talking about punching in the stomach, knocking down, stick or branch, and strangulation. And then upon this little young girl's demise, she passes and he proceeds to have intercourse with her or some type of sexual act. We don't know the actual details of it, and that will come out in the forensics part of it. Ed, how important is it to have a good, solid forensic evidence collection in a case like this when you have a young kid who gives a complete confession and an attorney gets a hold of it?
Well, it's very important and highly probative because he's made a statement now, and the forensic evidence can either prove or disprove his statement. If the evidence is there, because I don't think this kid had any thought in his mind about cleaning up the crime scene or altering it in any way, or he just did what he did and ran home,
Yeah.
and left that body out there. So I imagine there's tons of potential forensic evidence here that will link him to this crime, and most likely corroborate what he already said to law enforcement.
And I want to get this out of the way because, again, we talk about fake book and some of the rumors that start swirling. I'm already getting in my ear, and I'm getting on DutyRon.com many different rumors, which I won't go into here. But let's just put out a hypothetical to someone like yourself, a professional like yourself. If there was a second party involved, say a second perpetrator, let's say another young kid or another perpetrator, forensically, if it was a close contact like this, we would have separate sets of DNA from these perpetrators, correct?
Yeah, you would imagine there'd be multiple sets of DNA, one from each of the perpetrators present. You touch the victim's skin, you leave your DNA and potential fingerprints. On there, and then there's footwear impressions in the soil, and I don't know if bicycles were involved here. They say she used to ride her bike from her aunt's house to her home through this little trail of a park by a river. Right. If then there would be tire impressions from her bike or any other bikes that may have been there. There's all kinds of forensic botany possibilities. There's all kinds of DNA from the plant life. There's all kinds of trace transfer evidence, hairs and fibers, all kinds of forensic evidence. And then obviously the possible seminal fluid and blood and other bodily fluids that can be obtained.
Right. And different bruisings in the different areas, private areas, and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
Let's quickly say thank you to the super chatters. Corey Lynn Somerville sends in a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much for that. Before it disappears, Chelsea Flores, thank you for becoming a DutyRon Silver member. Ed and I really appreciate that. And Judy Ahmed, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Greatly appreciated. Your support is really, really instrumental in us doing the work that we're doing here, and we appreciate each and every one of you for being here. So let's do this quickly. Trucker Steve, thank you for being here. Twyla Cisco is here, the search coordinator from EquiSearch. Twyla is always happy to spend some time with us here. Great to see you. I know everybody in the chat is being listen, we want to be respectful towards this victim, this 10-year-old victim. We want to be respectful towards. I'm hoping and praying that there is some good in this family. I'm not seeing a lot of indicators early on, and none of this is verified, but it just seems like both sides, there's lots of problems with substance abuse and addiction. But again, none of this, is been. None of the law enforcement has come out and talked about this, and it's probably for good reason, Ed. But we're reading things just like everybody else is, and it's not encouraging. I will say that. That's the best way I think I could put it, Ed and I. We could say that the early signs here are discouraging. We look at and it's reminiscent of Harmony Montgomery. You have her father, who is a substance abuser, a killer, a perp, career criminal, mother, drug addict, substance abuse, addiction. Summer Wells, same situation. We could just go on and on about these cases, but here we are in Wisconsin dealing with a horrific crime. I want to just put up quickly the coroner preliminarily, Ed, put out the cause and manner. I know you had a chance to look that over. Could you just tell the audience a little bit of what came out of coroner's office preliminarily? This isn't a full report as of now.
Yeah, well, the local coroner has sent the body to St. Paul, Minnesota, across state lines to have a more thorough autopsy conducted. But preliminarily, they came out with blunt force trauma injuries, strangulations, and sexual assault.
Yeah. And again, we all cringe when we hear this. Everybody is just, it's just cringeworthy. I'm going to show quickly just to give some folks. I don't know if everybody has seen the actual court appearance. It's 14 minutes long, so I'll kind of fast forward through it. But I think it's important that some of you guys see this. There's an outfit that played it and showed some media to kind of not show the back of the perpetrator's face, head, and his silhouette. I don't want to play that because I don't even want to teeter on that. But this Fox News outlet Live Now, they did the right thing and they didn't show anything. But they did show the judge speaking, and we can hear clearly the charges. So if you guys can, grin and bear it for 5 minutes or so, and we'll play a little bit of this court appearance for you guys, so you can get a good idea of what we're looking at here. And what they did is they showed the walking trail. That's what they referred to it as, a not a bike trail, but a walking trail. But the kids were on bicycle. It's alleged. So let's take a peek at that. I'm going to move everything out of the way here. Share screen. And that's how unprepared I am. I didn't even have this queued up.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat there.
It's Friday night. Well, we're going to get to those questions. You can highlight some of them if you want. But let's just play this quick. Give everybody a chance to take a peek at this.
All right, everyone. Before we begin this proceeding, I wanted to just remind everyone that the court has issued an order on decorum for today, and there are certain rules that are in effect for this hearing for everyone, all participants, all spectators, all media. This is a sensitive matter, and just to remind media, there should be no videography of any of the defendant at all in this matter in any of the gallery. We have to preserve not only the juvenile's rights, but also the rights of any victims that are present here today as well. There shall be no outbursts in this courtroom. We need to preserve decorum. And so please comply with the rules that have been posted and provided to you prior to this hearing.
Excellent. Thank you, folks.
Attorney Newell, would you be able to call this matter? I would ask that the parties refer to the juvenile.
This is what I'm referring to, Ed, and our chatters. This is the most respectful showing of this court appearance. Other news outlets showed full screen, the actual defendant and his attorney. It was a back shot of him, but still, this judge is saying that, we didn't want any photographs and things of that nature. This is a second screen that they put over the screen showing the juvenile, the 14-year-old evil monster. That's why I like this Live Now. This is a Fox station. They did it the right way. They put the searchers. This small creek here, it runs along that bicycle path, walking path, whatever you want to call it. They call it a walking path, but to me it looks like, a combination. People would be biking, walking, rollerblading, things of that nature over there. But that's why I chose to play this for out of respect.
With the initials for us to proceed and then give the appearances. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. This is a criminal complaint. As soon as I'm done, I guess, introducing the case. Wade Newell, District Attorney for Chippewa County, appearing on behalf of the state. The defendant is at JDC with his attorneys Kirby Harless and Carl Schmidt, all appearing via video.
That's the Juvenile Detention Center, the JDC.
All right, Attorney Harless, first of all, there has been a criminal complaint that has been filed or provided.
Actually, we'll be filing that now.
Please approach.
We would waive any further reading. We would waive the time limit for a preliminary hearing which we have discussed with our client, and we are requesting that it be set for a hearing next week. I believe there's still decisions to be made as to counsel moving forward. So I'd like to have it delayed for 1 week in order to have counsel permanently assigned and make a decision from scheduling from there.
All right. Attorney Newell, did you have any arguments on bond for this matter?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is requesting a $1 million cash bond with the condition that he have no contact with any juveniles and not possess any dangerous weapons. The state understands the state is asking for a very high cash bond for a defendant of 14 years of age, but given the statements that the defendant made to law enforcement that his intention was to rape and kill the victim from the get-go when he left the house with the victim going down the trail, the state believes that there is a need to protect the community and also a concern regarding the defendant fleeing, given the severity of the punishment he is facing for all three of these charges. That gives him a very big incentive not to resolve the matter and to flee the area, but protection of community also is necessary in this case, given his statements, once again, regarding his intentions and also his statements regarding the fact that when he did get off of the trail, punched the victim in the stomach, knocked her to the ground, essentially strangled her, hit her with a stick before strangling her to the point of death before he then sexually assaulted her. Based upon all that, the state believes that a $1 million cash bond is appropriate with the two conditions outlined.
All right, Attorney Harless or Attorney Schmidt, any objections?
Yes, Your Honor, to the cash amount. This is Attorney Schmidt. I'll be addressing the bond argument. We're asking the court to impose a $100,000 cash bond. We agree that cash is appropriate in this case. The charges are extremely serious. We do not feel that setting bond in excess of $100,000 is necessary or appropriate in this case. We do not believe that Mr. PB is a flight risk. He is 14 and an 8th grader. He cannot drive. He is not in a position to raise much money, frankly, at all on his own. He resides with his mother. He is a lifetime resident of Chippewa County. We believe that a $100,000 cash bond should be adequate to ensure that Mr. PB does not flee, that he has a realistic opportunity for some sort of pretrial release, as limited as I think that would be. I believe that in light of his age and that circumstance, that setting that bond any higher than $1,000 is far beyond what's necessary to serve the goals of bail. I think that all it would do would be essentially to index his case at the details of these offenses. That's all.
All right, thank you. All right. The court has considered the arguments of counsel here today. This is a serious charge, and because of serious charges, there are serious consequences, which gives a greater incentive for individuals not to want to return to court when they are facing those charges. And so I also need to consider the threats to the community. The information that was disclosed by the district attorney shows that this was a serious threat to the community. And so the court is concerned that this could be a further threat if the individual was no longer in custody. The court will order a $1 million cash bond with the conditions that the defendant not contact any juveniles and have no dangerous weapons. Attorney Harless or Attorney Schmidt, I believe, or I'm not aware of whether or not the defendant has any siblings that I could accept this from that could be supervised. I would allow that to have supervised contact between any family members that are his siblings, as long as that contact is supervised. The time limits for the preliminary hearing have been waived. However, there is a request for a hearing next week to determine whether counsel would need to be updated for the defendant. I have some dates. At this time, I would like to go off the record to go through our calendars to make sure.
One thing is, at the same time as filing the criminal complaint, the state has also filed the victim key. I would ask that that be filed confidentially and sealed, only available to the parties.
All right. I'm going to do a few things here. Were there any issues from any victims or victim representatives regarding the schedule of next week's hearing at all? All right, hearing none. I will order that the clerk file the criminal complaint that was. All
right, so this is legal mumbo jumbo. I wanted to just quickly show you this hearing because there's a lot of you out there haven't seen it, maybe outside the country. Nothing But Love sends in $100 super chat, and thank you, Denise, for that. Very kind. There was also another $10 super chat in from Mary Ravely. Did CPB have priors? That's unknown, and I don't think so. I didn't hear anything about that. But Nothing But Love sends in a super chat of $100, and she says, "There's so many things I would like to say about this horrific event. However, I feel many will take offense to my opinion. I can't say enough for Lily's demise. It's beyond sad and pathetic. To all parents, be involved with your children in mental health awareness." Amen to that. Very good statement.
Oh boy, these kids. I saw it in here. I'm just going to highlight it. Someone posted these kids didn't have a chance, and I agree 100%. 100. Both families were beyond dysfunctional. Okay, and then it's another failure on the part of the state to watch out for these kids. I don't know why these kids are allowed to be in these situations and why they aren't removed by the state and put into foster care and try to find some loving family to take care of them. On both, no one is born a sex offender and a killer. Okay, that boy learned this. He learned this from the acts of his father. And, I saw somebody make a comment about don't say anything bad about video games. Well, I disagree. Okay. I know if that was trying to be sarcastic, these video games desensitize these children to murder and sexual assault and domestic violence. Okay. It makes it look right.
Yeah. Yeah.
As well as the music.
I agree. Ed. I mean, there needs to be some type of regulation where it comes to this violence, but it'll never happen because it has to do with money. These companies, they all make a ton of money off this stuff, and it is a problem, and it's something that needs to be addressed. Again, I wanted to play that court proceeding because a lot of people didn't have a good grasp of what happened there. The judge did say $1 million cash bail. I feel, and I know Ed probably feels the same way, in these instances where you have such a horrific and heinous crime, there should be no bail. There should have been no possible chance that somebody with $1 million comes up with that bail and gets that kid out. Then what? What do you have? You got extreme situation. You have community unrest. You have everybody would be outraged. But I revert back to Diamond Alvarez, who was shot 22 times. I sound like a broken record, but she was 15 years old, 5 years older than Lily. And she was shot 22 times in the back. And then the perpetrator, which was her ex-boyfriend or ex-friend, whatever you want to call him, he spit on the ground where she lay dying or dead. And he was granted $250,000 bond. So he had to come up with 10% of that. And it was out on bond. And her mother came on this show crying and pleading for the courts to change. They had protests up and down. And what did he do? He violated that bond and got put in. And then what did they do? They let him back out. Bail reform, criminal justice reform, and all of this stuff in the wake of, things that went on in the summer of love of 2020 is just hurting the victims and their families. It's hurting the good people. It's helping give a pat on the back and kind of like just a slap on the wrist to some of these heinous crimes. You got someone who murdered a 14-year-old, murdered a 10-year-old. He should not be granted any opportunity to get out. A 17-year-old murdered a 15-year-old. He got out because the judge thought, oh, $250,000, they're not going to be able to come up with it. They're not, they don't have the money. Somebody came up with it. Ed, I'm telling you, this just makes me crazy.
You think of the life that could have been there. That you think. I mean, this is what I think all the time when I see these children that get killed. Who they could have been later in life had they been given the right atmosphere to grow, the love, the support, the parents that cared, parents that took care of their needs and taught them right from wrong, and taught them to go to school, get an education, and it's just a waste. It's such a waste, and it tears you apart. I swear. But I know people are asking a lot of questions, about forensic evidence. There should be a lot of forensic evidence there. Now, unfortunately, he went back home. And so he had a jump on the police, and he could have discarded a lot of the forensic evidence. His clothes could have been washed, his pants, his underwear, his shirts. Because initially there could have been, her DNA there, her blood, the soil, the pollen, the DNA from the trees and the plants on his clothing, on his sneakers, on shoes, or whatever the case, that places him at that scene. Her hairs and fibers on him, her bodily fluids on him, transfer of DNA between the two. The DNA from the stick, is the stick an actual tree or was it something else? But if it's an actual tree that he took it from, well, there's DNA in that tree, and that DNA could get transferred to his hands. But as I said, he had the time to get home and wash up and alter that, and that might have been lost. But if the stick was found at the scene with the body, then his DNA should be on there. If he manually strangled her, then his DNA should be on her neck, and possible fingerprints on the skin that you could possibly lift. Footwear impressions in the soils, shoe marks, things of that nature, tire tread marks from bicycles or whatever the case. And there's always the sign, when you're traversing through the plant life, you're breaking twigs and leaves, and then you have your hairs and fibers get caught up in there. So it's a overlapping circumstances of forensic evidence. So there's evidence of him at the scene. There's evidence of the scene at his house, where he's living with his aunt, I believe. There's
Right.
evidence of interaction between he and his cousin, the victim, and so there'd be a transfer of hairs and fibers. Now, a lot of this can be, hair and fibers are trace transfer evidence, and a lot of it can be innocently transferred. But okay, if you have his DNA around her neck, that's not normal. If you have DNA on her pelvis, that's not normal. On her thighs, that's not normal. Okay, he shouldn't be touching these areas. If you have fingerprints on skin in these areas as well, again, that's not something that you can easily explain away. Exactly.
And Ed, all of this stuff is very important. And Zen Bryn, I'm not saying that right. Zen Bryn says, didn't he confess to all? Yeah, he did. But what happens if he says that through his lawyer that confession was coerced, or he didn't give that confession legally? What if there was mistakes made during that confession? We hope and pray that there isn't, but we know that a defense attorney is going to attack and go right on the defense for this perpetrator, his client. So the importance of having forensic evidence is now that backs up and puts him at the scene. There's a chance he might have touched her bicycle and not touched the handlebars, touched the bike seat, touched different items, and now you have his DNA on his bike and his DNA on her bike. So you can have lots of things like that happen. Fibrofluosi,
but a lot of that can be explained away. Okay. You know, I mean, you can't put a time frame on when the DNA got on the bicycle handlebars. Okay. But the other stuff, you know, coming directly from the victim, if you can get it coming from the victim, from her clothing, from her underwear, from, you know, her skin, that's a total different animal.
Now, Fibrofluosi asked a question in a super chat. Thank you, Jill, for the $5 super chat. She says, DutyRon, can you speak about possible charges for the parents? Question marks. Love to you and Ed. That question was a common one that was brought to me on DutyRon.com. You know, these parents, unless they engaged in this crime or helped in facilitating this crime, cannot be charged. We look at them in disgust and we say, this kid didn't just learn this on his own. You know, I have a clip here that claims that his father was a pedo, right? We heard
his father's, he's a registered sex offender. He's in a halfway house. He got out of prison. He's got an ankle bracelet. He can't be around children. Okay. Right. So he really has very little interaction with his family and the children and the kids. Right. And nor should he, to be quite honest with you. I think he, by virtue of what he's done, he should have lost those privileges.
Let's play this clip about the father. This is talking about his past. So this may be a little bit shocking to some of the folks. So again, there's the disclaimer coming in.
Bond is set at $1 million for the 14-year-old boy accused of sexually assaulting and killing Lily Peters in Chippewa Falls. That boy appeared in adult court by video today after telling investigators what happened to 10-year-old Lily on Sunday.
Fox 9's Rose Schmidt is live in Chippewa Falls tonight with the very latest in this case. Rose?
Amy, Kelsey, we watched countless parents and their children lay flowers here at the memorial for 10-year-old Lily Peters. Clearly still shaken up that a 14-year-old has been charged with allegedly sexually assaulting and then killing her. The community of Chippewa Falls is getting some answers tonight about what prosecutors say led up to Lily Peters' death.
Without knowledge as to who an offender is, that is a very concerning matter for the community. I have a 17-year-old daughter myself.
The 14-year-old suspect was referred to only by his initials as he appeared in court for the first time today via video. Our cameras weren't allowed to show the video screen or the court gallery. District Attorney Wade Newell requested a $1 million cash bond for the 8th grader.
State believes that there is a need to protect the community.
The criminal complaint and search warrants have been sealed in this case, so details have been scarce so far. The DA did say today that the teen told police his intention was to rape and kill 10-year-old Lily, sharing these disturbing details.
When he did get off of the trail, punched the victim in the stomach, knocked her to the ground, essentially strangled her, hit her with a stick before strangling her to the point of death before he then sexually assaulted her.
The judge ultimately granted the bail request, despite the defense's argument that the teen is not yet old enough to drive and therefore not a flight risk.
In light of his age and that circumstance, that setting that bond any higher than $1,000 is far beyond what's necessary to serve the goals of bail.
The teen faces 3 felonies: first-degree murder, first-degree sexual assault, and first-degree sexual assault of a child under 13.
Well,
we want to note that this is an adult court case, as is standard here in Wisconsin for first-degree murder cases. Meanwhile, the suspect is due back in court next week on May 5th. Reporting live.
It was supposed to be about her father, and of course, I clicked on it, and it didn't play. It didn't play about his father. So, again, I read it. I think we all have read it. I'm going to show you quickly what the title was here. So, dad of Lily Peters accused 14-year-old killer is a convicted pedophile. Court documents show, and I reviewed those court documents. This is a picture of the father of the alleged perpetrator here. His face is blocked out, but these are some of the pictures in this article, and it goes on to tell you about his criminal history and the disgusting and despicable things that he did with child pornography. This guy is a special kind of evil, and again, we can attribute this behavior to a learned behavior. Well, you're not born with this. So
no, this is something he heard. This is something he saw. This is something made worse by the lack of supervision of his parents. The video games, the music, all of it. There was a question. He's going to be tried as an adult here. They already said that. 14-year-olds in Wisconsin for that level of murder are being charged as an adult. Okay.
Right.
So then the ramifications are that he's not getting out as a juvenile, not being charged as a juvenile, and so he'll do more time if convicted. He could probably do life if convicted. Now, there was a question about whether there could be genetic material, DNA material in the soil where the attack took place, and the answer is yes. That is definitely a possibility, and it can be searched for with forensic light sources and located and then collected.
We're continuing to follow.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of information, and we saw them rope off the home of her, I believe it was her aunt that she was at, the home. 215 East Birch is her home address. It's out there. And then the actual location is just a block and a half away. I have it up on the map. I was looking at it before we went live, and it was just, for me, just a hop, skip, and a jump away. And we'll show the aerial of that. Ed, what do you think? Again, we as investigators know, but some of the audience here do not have any knowledge of what needs to be done here. What do you think was going on inside the home, the search warrant? You talked briefly, you did an outline on that. What are they doing in that home?
They're looking for the clothing that he was wearing, the shoes, the socks, the underwear, the pants, T-shirts, outer clothing. They're looking, they're going to have to get a warrant and take his DNA. They would have to, just a trigger alert, folks. I'm going to say some things that may make some people stressed out here. They may have to take combings of his pubic hairs, hairs from his legs, hairs from his arms, his head hairs. In addition, they're going to do a sex kit on the victim. And again, trigger alert. She was most likely a virgin, and there's going to potentially be damage here, and bleeding and things of that nature. So it's just horrific all the way around. These are the kind of cases that give you nightmares.
To say the least, Ed. And again, I'm trying to set up the Google Earth that I had on this location. I want to just bring you guys just a pretty good look at the location from above. So just give me 2 seconds. Anybody in the chat? Listen, guys, we're going to do a quick Q&A towards the end of this. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, and they're also going to be looking for his bicycle. I would be seizing that bicycle, looking at those tires, seizing the shoes, looking for soil samples. And the materials. If the stick was not found, the blunt force instrument, if a stick or whatever you used to beat her with was not found at the scene, it might be back at the house. And they're looking for it. I mean, I know they taped up the whole house, and people are living there, so it looks like they moved the people out of the house.
Yeah, it pretty much looked like it, and they said Today, when I looked at the updates, it actually said that that home is still not occupied. So they still have it sealed. We're looking at this is a look at an overview of this location, and this looks like some of the wooded area and the walking path where they took the bike. But the street here and the house is right in this area right here. And I believe her home was just like right up and over here somewhere. I think it was this house right here. But this is the area along. It doesn't show it from Google Earth, but look, you could see the body of water that we saw the investigators walking on, and I believe she was found somewhere up over here, up on the top right. This, this is just showing the,
Yeah, it's just the little section in the upper right corner is I believe a brewery, a famous brewery. So they said it was right near there.
Yeah, this is it right here.
Yeah. So
this is the path here. See this little paved thing? So it was somewhere up and around this area right here where my cursor is. I'm going to go full screen with it so everybody can take a peek at it. Emily, thank you so much for the super chat. So let me just let me quickly do this. Hold on. This is going to give you a better view of it, and it's just going to circle around. But essentially,
there's the river.
Yeah, this is the river. So the walking trail goes along, just along that river. You saw the cops, the police officers walking along it. So maybe they went, from here where my cursor is, from here down. This is a dead end street right here. I have it on regular Google Maps so that you could walk out down this road right here, and then it leads into this walking area. And then they went along here, and it was somewhere around here. Now, of course, we have that heavy tree cover, but it was somewhere around here. There's a walking path right there that he committed this crime, because right there is the part that you come out, and here's the brewery that we talked about. Pretty horrific when you think about it. Just a short distance from her home, and it was probably just like any other, time where she could just, okay, well, I'm just going to go home. Maybe it was a little odd that he offered to go with her. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe she did that many times before. I don't know.
This was his cousin. She's been in his life for 10 out of his 14 years. And then now all of a sudden you have these thoughts and you act upon them. It's just crazy.
Horrifying. It's really horrifying. I'm going to go to another image, which is going to show you the street view here. So you guys, let me see if I can get this full screen. So this is the front of that house that they had roped off. Well, let's see if I can go full screen with this. 422 North Grove. It just looks like just a regular community. I'm just going to do a circular around, look at the houses across the street. Okay.
Yeah, it's an older neighborhood.
Right. But this is what I was talking about. If you just go straight down, this is the house right here, right? So if you go down to the end of this street, the dead end, and then it goes to that, there's the water there, and they probably went up along here. Terrible. Just terrible. And this is how she would get home, straight up here. And I believe it was 2 blocks up. Oh, maybe this was the walking path. I don't know. I'm not good at this. This is another dead end. Oh, yeah. This is probably it right here, Ed. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, difficult. Yeah, I see you laughing at me because I'm not good at that Google Earth and the Google Maps. I guess I got to get better at it. Mm-hmm. People are saying he's going to get out in 20 years and, things of that nature. I don't know about that, guys. I mean, if there's a successful conviction here, I could see 25 years to life. I could see there's several felony charges here. The sexual offense alone could carry 25 to life.
There's a charge he hasn't been charged with yet, and I'm guessing it's coming. Okay, again, trigger alert, folks. Trigger alert. It's still a crime in this necrophilia is still a crime.
Yeah, and that is the act of sexual intercourse or any sexual act with someone who is dead. And that's what it's alleged. And the district attorney spelled it out in court. He spoke it right out in court. I don't know why they didn't charge it. So maybe there's time for them to maybe upgrade these charges.
I think they're waiting for the DNA evidence to come back from the autopsy.
Yeah. Navy Vet sends in a $10 super chat and says, Duty Ron and Ed, why wasn't he charged with? Yeah. Here we go.
I just answered it. They're waiting for the DNA to come back from the DNA from the medical examiner's office after they did the sexual assault kit.
Yeah, and they said that could take 4 to 6 weeks. So that's just them being, giving you an estimate. It could come back earlier. It could come back later. So I mean, that's what we're looking at here. Evidence in the forensic side, the crime scene evidence collection is going to come in very strong here, because if he does not plead guilty or fights his confession, you need to have it. You need to have the the forensic evidence.
When we grew up as kids in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, we walked everywhere. We walked back and forth to schools, whether it was grammar school, high school, junior high school, whatever the case was. In fact, it was in my grammar school, if you live close by, if you live close enough, you could walk home for lunch. You didn't have to stay in school for lunch.
Right.
You go home, get lunch if somebody was home, and then you'd walk back to school. Now, if a parent does that, they're called free range parenting, and it's frowned upon. That you allow your kids, to walk around the neighborhood by themselves.
Yes. In light of everything that's going on, we live in a mad world. But, these types of crimes and this type of situation, there could be potentially worldwide millions of kids in similar situations. I'm talking about dysfunctional mother, dysfunctional father, dysfunctional other family members. Sometimes you have complete families that are just in shambles. We don't know the dynamics of this family, and we will come to find out what she was living in and how it was. Mary Glick, there you go. You got a question up there for Mary. I think you answered that.
All right, trigger alert. All right, trigger alert for this Mary Glick question. If the victim was a virgin, which most likely is the case, there would be tearing and bleeding. But corpses don't bleed. Once they're dead, their heart stops pumping the blood. So you wouldn't have those types of injuries. So they'd be able to tell if the sexual act was post-mortem.
I think I have a better picture and a better map to show you guys. I'm going to go full screen with this, Ed. It just gives a little bit better of an overview. So this is Lily's family home. This was the aunts. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, give or take 4 or 5 blocks. They went this way up North Grove. I was actually right about that. It wasn't this way. It was this way. And then this is the walking trail. And this was the X. We were pretty close, Ed. And the brewery's up here and to the right. Horrible.
There was a question here: who found the body by Schmitty? I believe it was law enforcement.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not sure if it was someone walking their dog or if it was law enforcement, but it was the next day.
The father reported her missing the next day, and on Sunday, right? But I think they searched on Monday. Was it
at 9:15? I have it written down here.
Yeah.
So it was on Sunday. She was reported. The parents called the police. Her dad.
Right.
And then
they searched on Monday.
Yeah, 9:15 Wisconsin time. They found her off that walking trail. Terrible, just a terrible situation. And I want to say thank you to all of the chatters here, the live chatters, the replay viewers. We have so many people who watch our replays, Ed, and leave us comments. If you're not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed when we go live. We're going to take a couple more questions before we end, but I'm just encouraging you guys to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. All one word, DutyRon, and engage with us after the live is over down below in the chat.
So to answer Rose's question here, they would have needed gotten a warrant to do that if they were going to do it. I would not take consent from, even though he's being treated as an adult, but I wouldn't take consent from a 14-year-old to get a DNA swab. I'd get a warrant and get the DNA that way. So if they could have obtained a warrant during the questioning, then they could have obtained the DNA at that time. But usually it takes a little bit longer.
There may be a chance now that he's arrested in juvenile lockup and stands accused of a sexual offense. There may be a chance that they could legally take DNA from him while he's incarcerated.
Well, yeah, when people are arrested for certain crimes, it's mandatory in certain criminal acts to take.
I would imagine they have it. I would imagine they have it. Patty Banks, I mean, but we don't know. We'd have to look into that. Patty Banks sends in a super chat. She says, Eric Smith, 14, killed 4-year-old, served 28 years. That's horrific.
I see a lot of chat here talking about how when we were kids and how we used to walk everywhere and how it is today. You have to ask yourself, how did our society change that much from the time that most of us were in, like I'm saying again, the late 50s, 60s, 70s? How did it change so much that we were able to walk around and we didn't have nearly the amount of horrific cases like this when we were growing up that we do today? How did our society change so much that this is what we have to worry about every day? And we can't keep, we can't let our children go out there and freely walk around the neighborhood, that we have to have eyes on them all the time. So I grew up in a neighborhood where every neighbor knew everybody in the block. My mother grew up with these people in the neighborhood. They went to high school together. They lived there their whole lives. Any parent, and when I grew up, any parent on the block could discipline any other child that lived on the block because all the parents knew each other. Everybody talked to each other. We would have block parties, and we would have, go to the VFW because everybody in my neighborhood was a veteran. And we would go with our parents to the VFW 4th of July parties and so forth and so on. It's just, our society has changed so much since we were children, and it is not for the better.
Yeah, that is for sure. Ed, things have changed considerably. I used to be able to play stickball and run around until darkness, and then my grandmother or my mother would yell out, it's dinner time, and we'd come running up the street, and we used to play under the street lights sometimes when it was dark, and our front doors were open and unlocked. It's a different day and age that we live in, and everybody has to be aware of that. Don't let your guard down. Don't think that just because you live in a nice neighborhood that crime is not going to happen. But in this case that we're speaking about here, this was something from within the family, and something that probably nobody could have predicted. I don't think, from the outside looking in. Maybe somebody on the inside of that family might have been able to predict it, or maybe detect something was wrong. I don't know. We don't know. We don't have a look into, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't have a look into the inner workings of this family or the families. But we do know that, something was not right. And this will all come out as this trial commences. And I think it's going to be quick. I don't think there's going to be a lot of delays in this unless the kid, pleads insanity or says, I'm crazy and I can't understand the trial. There's different things that could happen here. But I barring all of that, if this thing just goes, it looks like they're going to look to dive into this quickly. And I hope that they do. But we will hear more from the coroner in Minneapolis that she went to?
No, St. Paul.
St. Paul, Minnesota, which is kind of close by because this, I believe, is western Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, at that point, Wisconsin and Minnesota are connected right there. Yeah. I used to drive through there when I went to my son in Minneapolis.
There you go. So you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody in the chat. We're here live 55 minutes. Again, forensics comes in it comes in tremendous. And if you haven't watch the beginning of this. You're coming in late here at the end. Ed goes over a lot of the steps that need to be taken. I was going to ask Ed, hey, you're a crime scene, unit investigator. You come up on this crime. What do you do? I think he's pretty much spelled it out here. I don't think we need to have him walk through it again. But, photographs, sketchings, and all the things that needed to be done, I'm sure were done on this one. I don't know much about the police department there. I know it isn't a large police department, but I'm sure that they secured the scene and did the right thing. That's what we hope and pray for. Ed, anything else jumping out at you? Because I want to just take some more questions from the chat. A lot of people are
take some questions.
Yeah, a lot of people are thanking us for covering. Russian Aloha, thank you. Unsolved Crimes Uncovered. When the Lord is absent, evil runs rampant. We've turned our backs on God, and now we're paying for it. In part, yeah, true.
You won't get an argument out of me on that one.
No. Here's another good one. The Dogs with Jobs says, parents nowadays are lazy and immoral, raising disrespectful, immoral monsters and set them out into society. Now, you're giving that's a blanket statement, and I don't agree with that 100% wholeheartedly, but there are some parents who do fit that bill. But, Ed and I can say that we raised our boys to be respectful human beings and functioning in society and contributing to society. Sometimes you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, kind of thing. You could be the best parent in the world and do everything right. And if your son or daughter gets around the wrong people or just is weak-minded, you could talk to you blue in the face, and you can have failures. And I don't wish that on my worst enemy, but unfortunately that does happen.
But you have to be in your children's lives. You can't be consumed in your own life. When you have a kid, your life stops. Everything you do from that point on is for your children. Yeah. That's the way I was brought up. Okay. And that's the way I am with my children.
Yeah. Amen to that, Ed. And that's how I am as well. I know everything. Listen, I still text my sons and I talk to them at dinner, but I'll text them during the course of the day while I'm at work and they're working. Hey, how's your day going? That kind of stuff. Those little things,
We sit down at the dinner table, have dinner together. The cell phones, put them down, put them away. You're not having them at the table. Okay. Yeah. This is our time now. We sit here, we talk about what's been going on in our lives. Okay. In fact, since my youngest son has come back home and living with us, and my older son has his own place. And so my youngest son suggested we pull a Blue Bloods like the Reagans out of the TV show, and every Sunday we have Sunday dinner together with my sons and my son's girlfriend and so forth, and sit down and have that family special dinner like we used to do at my house. Sunday dinner in my house was big. It was big. Get up in the morning, Dad made breakfast, you went to church together, came home from church, and then mom was in there making with my grandmother making sauce for the Italian Sunday dinner that we were going to have. And I long for those days. I long for the days like the movie Sandlot. That was me growing up as a kid. Everybody knew everybody in the neighborhood. Every block had its own group of kids around the same age, and we all played baseball against each other.
And things like that are not happening now because their heads are in the phones or on online gaming and things of that nature.
You couldn't get us to come in the house.
Yeah.
Right. Your parents would say, hey, when the street lights come on, you got to come home. Or you couldn't go out and play until you did your homework.
Correct.
Right. And then you can go out and play. But when and obviously you had to be in home to eat. But when the street lights came on, you had to be home.
Yeah. Hey, DP Infomiss sends in a question to Ed, and thank you for being a channel member and a great, great friend. Ed, do you speculate drugs are involved in this?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm sure that somewhere in this 14-year-old's life, he was introduced to that as well. But I don't know if that was a contributing factor to it. I definitely, it was all around him, obviously, because the mother and the father and so forth. He saw it. He definitely learned it. But, you know, what triggered the sexual assault? What triggered the sexual assault? That to me is a pivotal question.
Yeah, that's a huge one right there. North Florida Gary, I can't find it, but he said it was a punishment to be able to not go outside and play. Like staying inside was like a punishment. And I remember that. Like if you did something wrong, you weren't allowed to go out and play with the rest of the kids on the block. And that was major punishment for us. You know, now parents will say, oh, I'm going to take your iPad away from you. I'm going to take your phone away. That lasts for 10 minutes and they give it right back. You know, again, I sometimes, you know, Friday nights, me and the missus go out to dinner, and sometimes we go to like a family pub kind of place, you know, local, with all my people from my neighborhood go there, and we see people. And it blows my mind that families will go out and they'll have 3 or 4 kids with them, you know, boys and girls, and they'll all have an iPad. And the parents are just sitting talking to each other, and the kids aren't even paying attention to them. There's no conversation. There's
know, again, you know, I look back and I see these things that were in my life and how good they were. And it was the little things. You didn't have to spend a lot of money. You know, I mean, it was just the little things you did together as a family.
Yeah.
And it had such a dramatic impact on your life. Now you have, in our society, you have parents who don't believe that, you know, you should bring your children to church, that you should let them choose what religion, or if they're going to have a religion, let them choose this.
Right.
Well, that's not parenting. You know, children shouldn't be choosing anything.
Agreed.
Okay, you're supposed to be teaching them and parenting them. Okay, you know, I just don't understand a lot of what's happening in our society today.
Yeah, and here we are. Fast forward to this past Sunday. Lily met her maker, met the evil, and it was evil from within her family. These people will be looked at under a microscope because it is part of what detectives do. This is a part of the investigation. They have to look at what happened prior to this happening, the months, weeks, days, years that led up to this. I'm sure that they will go back a whole year or maybe longer and see what happened with this child, how this perpetrator functioned in school. Was he acting out? Was he violent? Did he have fights in school? This is all the unknown to us. Did he have any sexual outbursts where it required him to be counseled by counselors? We'll hear about that if in fact that was the case.
Was he abusing animals? Was he killing animals?
Right.
You know, there are always signs of that something like this is coming.
Right. Yep. Okay. Was this kid in his backyard with a pellet gun shooting birds in the eyes or squirrels in the eyes and
or torturing animals? You know,
right. So
crazy things like that.
This is all part of the investigation. But I can say this on the surface: if you look at it, if he's got a father, and his father wrote those letters while he was in jail that he wanted to be unsupervised visits with his son. He wanted to have his son, full contact with them, and they wouldn't give it to him because of his horrific crime. The things that he was convicted of doing was despicable. So rightfully so, the authorities didn't want to give him full access unsupervised to his son because of what he was doing. With those photographs and all the disgusting behavior that he was doing online and in his cell phone. But if you look at the way the father was, what did he do up until the point where before he got caught? So was this full exposure to his son? Was he letting him look at incestual type pornographic images and videos? I'd have to, if I rolled the dice and I had to guess at it, I would say, yeah, probably, but we don't know that for sure.
You know, I teach a course, and a lot of it has to deal with, if you see something, say something. And I teach like active shooters or school shooters, or suicides. There were always indicators, about direction people are going in their lives. And we need to be cognizant of these indicators. They may not be criminal acts, but individually, they may mean nothing, but taking in the totality of different things occurring at different times. Like an example I can give is like somebody being bullied in a school, and then they're sitting all alone in the cafeteria by themselves. And then someone tries to reach out to that person, and then that individual that's being bullied then flips off the person that's trying to make contact with them. And then, or they're in the library and they're researching on YouTube school shootings,
right?
Looking at historical school shootings, or and then a teacher walks by them and they make like their fingers into a gun and point it at the back of the teacher. Right. And these kids see all of this stuff, but if you see something, you have to say something. Okay. Yeah. You can't just allow things like this. And the same thing, and we go over suicides. How many times have you noticed people would notice odd behaviors in the people just before they commit suicide, the weeks and days leading up to the suicide. And, there are indicators, and they're doing things in their life that are not normal. And, you have to question yourself. Well, and a lot of times people say after the fact, well, I saw him do this, or I heard him say this. And the time to have acted on that was at the time you saw it and the time you heard it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many different possibilities. Jennifer Noble sends in a question, and I had it up on the screen, but now I can't find it. It was something in regards to DNA off clothing. Could it be found 20 years later on an article of clothing?
Depends on how the article of clothing was stored. There has been several cases. For instance, there are Nazi war crime cases still being solved today from fingerprints and DNA left on documents. All right. Like you said, the guy, they changed their lives and they hid their horrific past, and they were Nazis back in the day in concentration camps, and they signed documents and did terrible things and changed their names and moved to the United States and became United States citizens. And then all of a sudden you uncover this document and you say, could it be this person? And then you develop fingerprints from the document or DNA from the document, and it matches back to the person. Yeah, cases like that happen all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, I had the question up. That's what it was. I remembered it. So it happens. Yeah, the answer to that is possibly. Yes, possibility. But it also depends, like Ed said, on how it's stored. If it's buried underground, not a lot of movement, not a lot of water, things like that. I don't. Everything is different. Each situation is going to be different. So depending on the climate, where it is, if it was in Alaska, you got a different set of things going on. But yeah, great question, Jen. So I think we did an hour and a half, an hour and 8 minutes of this. We are going to continually follow this case. We're going to look into this closely. Ed is in Boston. He's going to be traveling back home. I thank Ed for taking out the time. I want to say thank you to the replay viewers. We have a new thing called, what is it called? Super Thanks. Yes, there it is. So we have this thing now called Super Thanks. So if you're a replay viewer, and I always compliment and thank the replay viewers, if you're now watching any replay, not just this one, but any one of our replays that Ed and I are on, or just myself on, or even something from 3 years ago that I put up, and you watch it and you like it, you have an opportunity to hit a heart. There's a little heart button that says Super Thanks. So it's a heart, and then you could put in your own little message in there, like, hey, thank you, Ed, for telling me about this. Thank you, Ron, for being so handsome. You can put anything you want, any kind of thing in there. Like, I liked your Gabby Petito Foundation shirt, or Ed, I love your background. And then you could put a Super Thanks. So it's another way to support this channel, to support the good work that we're doing. So I thank YouTube for giving that to this channel. We were waiting a long time to get that. I didn't know when it was going to happen, and I don't even know when I got it, but I saw it this morning. I just noticed it this morning. So,
hey, Alicia P. Ron told me that you guys spoke today, and that you bought my book, the 3rd edition. The 4th edition is coming out sometime next year.
Oh boy, Ed. So Ed has co-authored 3 books. Ed,
4.
Okay, so 4 books. Where can people get those books, Ed?
Amazon.com.
I'm going to link it down in the description on every one of our videos from now on. Ed's books. It's going to be in the DutyRon Amazon store, and you guys can go get them and read up about Investigations 101. Right, Ed?
Well, yeah, we have crime scene investigations. We have terrorism, hazmat investigations, and crime scene management books. Yeah, they're all out there. Evidence books.
Awesome. Hey, I got a question for you on the family dinners that you have, like the Blue Bloods kind of style. Could we get permission to embed cameras like they do in some of these reality TV shows? Where we can get
there will be no reality TV in my house.
Look in of Ed Wallace having Sunday dinner with the fam.
Uh-huh.
No, okay.
It's more like Mr. and Mrs. Smith sometimes, and we're all wearing Kevlar.
Oh, geez. That would make for some good YouTube reality TV. Christina Marty? Yeah. Christina, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. Much appreciated. Guys, we're going to close it up. This old man wants to get to bed. Tennessee girl, great to see you always. Thank you to Dawn Marie and all the great mods that have been in here. Lieutenant Pete Pranzo, he's PFD. He's always present for duty. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate it. So he says, well done, Ed. Well done.
Thank you, LT. Thank you.
Guys, if you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, sharing it onto your social media. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll get everything that we do and all the notifications. Follow us on Facebook. We got the YouTube video share group. We got the police and crime chat group, and we have a Discord group. That's for the channel members only, but Discord is a great place to hang out, and there's a channel members Facebook group. If you're a channel member, and you have Facebook, hit me up, and I'll add you to the channel members only. Everybody saying thank you, Ed. Navy vet.
Thank you. That's
yeah. Look at that, hazmat qualified.
Quite impressive. It's something to be the first female in the Navy to have qualified for that.
Awesome. I love it. Ed's working the switchboard right now. Rose 1033 says, thank you, Ed and Ron. Where did it go? There it is. Wow, that chat moves quick. Rose 1033 says, thank you, Ron and Ed. Great info. We appreciate that. Thank you. Deanna says she loves this channel. Where did it go? There it is.
Joe Taylor, it's 2:45 a.m. in the UK. Get to bed.
Wow. Yeah, go to sleep. Time to hit the hay. All right, guys, let's wrap it up as we always like to end all of these. Guys, first, before I go into that, be on high alert all the time, not to scare everybody, but just always be aware of your surroundings. Never become complacent. You guys always ask us for safety tips. Our best safety tip that we can give you is to be vigilant and steadfast and know what's going on around you. Do not bury your head in a phone at any given time. Always look up and look around. Don't keep your pocketbook or your purse open. Always carry your wallet and your purse and all that stuff. Keep it close to you. Be safe. Do not think that anywhere you are is 100% completely safe, and just be aware. Be aware. You don't have to be hyper aggressive and paranoid, but just be aware of your surroundings, folks. We look at Naomi, what happened to her. She had her head buried in her phone in her car, and she's not here to talk to us today.
You are your first line of defense, not 911. And sometimes, folks, just presenting an awareness level or just giving somebody a look could make that person who is thinking about attacking you question whether or not to attack you.
Right.
Okay. You know how to present yourself. I'll give you a case. I was in Minneapolis on a street corner at 4 a.m. waiting for Uber to take my wife and I to the airport. And there was this person across the street at 4 a.m. Okay. And he was looking kind of, emotionally disturbed and possibly intoxicated or high on something. But he was mumbling and talking to himself. And then he spotted us waiting on the corner. And he started to walk towards us. I turned and stared right at him. He stopped dead in his tracks in the middle of the street, turned around and walked the other way.
Yeah. And I said this on a couple of lives ago, when I used to debrief some of my prisoners and some of the bad guys at parole when we did our debriefings every Wednesday. A lot of the guys would say to me, the reason I selected my target is because they didn't look me in the eye and they looked like an easy target for me. If someone looks me in the eyes, I'm not going to go and do what I'm going to do because they can identify me. So that's a big thing. Always look people in their eyes as they're coming at you. It tells a lot about what they're going to be doing, as Ed just described. And, you know, if you're not looking at them because you're scared, they're going to sense that and you're going to become a target. So that's an easy thing for you to understand, is that you can know some people are like, oh, I don't want to make eye contact with anybody. No, the best thing is to make eye contact with them, because then they say to themselves, well, I got to look for the next person that's not going to be looking straight at me. So think about it.
Yeah, but if you project you're afraid, if you project you're scared, they sense it, they feel it, they know it, and then they're going to attack.
There you go.
So be prepared, right? Watch your six.
Bingo. Guys, as I like to end all of these, God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat.
Hold on, Ron. I'm sorry. There's someone just said, please answer this question.
Okay.
What question? Life question. Where's that question? Where's the question? This man is watching me, and I've recently seen him at my child's bus stop several times. Will the police help? If a pattern is developing and you don't know who this individual is, you can call 911 at the time that you see them and have them respond, and that, you know, give them the details and what your concerns are, and have them respond. If you don't know who he is, or if he's not from the neighborhood, and so forth, yeah, call 911 if you're feeling scared and uneasy about this, especially if now they're developing a pattern of, you're saying he's watching you. If he's doing this over several days, yeah, call the police the next time you see him, and stay there. Wait for the police. Don't just call and leave. Call the police, wait for them to come, and have them confront this individual. Let's get the person identified and see if the person is there in the neighborhood legitimately, or what they're up to.
Snap a picture of them too, if you can.
Yeah, that's the time to pull out the phone and snap a picture safely.
Oh, hell yeah.
Safely.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, guys. Again, everybody stay safe. And let's send out prayers, strength, and positive vibes to the people here in Wisconsin that's affected by this terrible, terrible crime. Don't forget, there's the community and people who were close to this young little girl. This has just gotten them all, just in some really bad way. So let's send them strength, prayers, positive vibes. And Ed and I will see you on the next live stream. We're going to try to do a members only, maybe this weekend or next weekend. So love and respect from our house to yours. Stay safe out there. Keep a close eye on your neighbors, your friends, your family, and more importantly, yourself and everybody around you. Take care from New York. Thank you, Ed, for taking out the time. And thank you to everybody who's given these great questions. And you guys are just tremendous. Leave us comments down below. We love the comments. Ed and I respond to most of them. So see you soon, guys. Peace. New York and Boston.
Cheers from Boston.
Take care, guys.
Mm-hmm.